And we are live.
Good morning and welcome to the December meeting of the Durham Historic Preservation Commission. My name is Katie Hamilton. I am the chair of this commission, and this meeting will now come to order. This commission is a quasi-judicial board of record, and as such, all testimony will be recorded and will be live streamed on the city's YouTube channel. The proceedings of this board are governed by the zoning laws as recorded. Before we begin today's evidentiary hearings, please note the steps we have taken to ensure that each party's due process rights are protected while utilizing this virtual platform. First, today's meeting will be conducted in accordance with the newly enacted statutes in Session Law 2020-3, which allow for remote meetings and quasi-judicial hearings during declarations of emergency. Second, each applicant on today's agenda has consented to the board conducting the evidentiary hearing using this remote platform. This consent will be reaffirmed on the record today. If there is any objection to a matter proceeding in this remote platform, the case will be continued. Third, notice of this meeting being held virtually was provided to the applicants and to the public in multiple ways, including signage posted on site, notification letters mailed to all adjacent property owners, and a general announcement via our city website. The notices for today's meeting advise the public on how to access the remote meeting as the meeting occurs. Individuals wishing to participate in today's evidentiary hearing were required to register prior to the meeting. Information about this registration requirement, along with information about how to participate and how to sign up, was sent to applicants in the mailed letters. Public was advised to contact the city immediately in case of objection to the evidentiary hearings or to the remote meeting platform. No case is proceeding today in which the city has been contacted by an individual with an objection to the case being heard by remote meeting platform. All individuals participating in today's hearing were also required to submit a copy of the presentation, document, exhibit, or other material they wish to submit prior to today's evidentiary hearings. All materials that the city received from the participants in today's cases, as well as a copy of the city staff report, were posted online with our meeting agenda prior to this meeting via the Durham Agenda Center. Finally, all individuals who registered to participate in any evidentiary hearing on today's agenda, as well as all city staff participants, were emailed a witness oath and consent to a remote hearing form prior to today's meeting that they were required to sign. We also reaffirm everyone's oath on the record at today's meeting. Are there any members of this board that would have any conflicts of interest with regard to the cases before us today? And are there any requests for early dismissal?
Katie, it's Andy. I'm going to recuse myself from the continued case, the Inglewood Avenue one. I did so the last time. So.
All right, thanks, Andy. Okay. Hearing no other conflicts of interest or early dismissal request, I'd like to remind everyone that our quasi-judicial hearings function similar to a court proceeding. Staff will first present an overview of the case, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to present their evidence. Opponents, if there are any, may then present their evidence, and the applicant may then present a rebuttal. Board members will refrain from questions or comments until each speaker has completed his or her presentation. Testimony should consist of facts each witness knows directly, not hearsay. Evidence already presented should not need be repeated. All witnesses who have signed up in advance will be given the opportunity to speak, and their testimony will be recorded. The board will vote on each case after the presentation of all evidence, pro and con, concerning the case. All decisions of this board are subject to appeal to the Board of Adjustment and then to the Durham County Superior Court. And now, Madam Clerk, can you please take attendance of those HPC members in attendance today?
Sure. Commissioner Broussard.
Here.
Vice Chair. Commissioner Dan.
Here.
Okay. Commissioner DeBerry, Commissioner Fieselman,
Here.
Commissioner Goolsby,
Here.
Chair Hamilton,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Craig,
Here.
Commissioner Waiters. Commissioner Waiters,
She was on. This is Chris Pearson playing the part. She was on. She may need to press *6 to unmute again.
okay. Okay,
Thanks, Terry.
Uh-huh.
And with that, we will now swear in all city staff that will be presenting for today's cases. Terry, can you swear in the staff?
yes. Do you members of staff and citizens swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the public hearing proceedings for today's cases is the truth by your own knowledge or by information or belief?
Carla Rosenberg, I do.
Jessica Dockery, I do.
Grace Smith, I do.
Ian Sacropani, I do.
All right, thank you all. With that, we will be moving to our first case of the day.
Chair Hamilton, may I interrupt quickly? I apologize for the interruption. I know that Ms. Waiters is on the phone, but our legal counsel has requested that we ask if she's able to view the materials. If not, we need to know if she can view them or if she's going to join on computer so she can see the materials during the meeting.
I have all of my materials that were mailed. However,
Okay.
I would love to see all of you.
Okay.
I am asking if he could send it again. Try waiters@AOL. I really miss seeing all of you. WWAITERS@AOL. The other email did not come through.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Waiters. Mr. O'Toole from the Attorney's Office, is it sufficient if she has her hard packet in front of her right now until she can join? Looks like our technology liaison is sending her another link to join.
This is Don O'Toole from the City Attorney's Office. I think that's...
Good morning.
Excuse me? Good morning. Good morning. I think that's fine as long as no different materials are being presented during the meeting.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping the link will come through.
Thank you, Ms.
I apologize.
Waiters.
I'm not at my office. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I actually missed a couple things, so luckily Grace stopped me. First of all, are there any adjustments to today's agenda?
Katie, I've got one. This is Andy. On case C of the agenda, or the minutes, excuse me. Find it again here.
Oh, you're okay.
Oh yeah, that was the one I was recused from. So the action would not be 8-0. It would be less my vote.
Were there any other adjustments to the minutes from the November 10th hearing?
This is Vice Chair Bouchard, just a couple small ones. Under 6A, this is KCOA 1900105. The only bullet, change form to from, and in subparagraph D, KCOA 2000067, we determined that the accessory structure lacks sufficient historical value. So I would either delete or strike possess, so that lack is the only word left in that phrase.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Brisby and Vice Chair Bouchard. Were there any other adjustments to the minutes from the November 10th hearing from other commissioners? All right, hearing none, I move that we approve the minutes as amended upon Commissioner Goolsby's and Vice Chair Bouchard's recommendations. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Terry, can we get a roll call vote?
Yep. Vice Chair Bouchard,
Approved.
Commissioner Dayon,
Move.
Commissioner DeBerry,
Approved.
Commissioner Fieselman,
Approved.
Commissioner Goolsby,
Approved.
Chair Hamilton,
Approved.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Kreger,
Approved.
Commissioner Waiters,
Approved.
and I'll come back, Commissioner Johnson.
Approved.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you. And with that, we'll be moving on to our first case of the day, which is COA 2000036, 2301 Inglewood Street, new construction and site work. This case has been continued from the November hearing. I will invite Jessica Dockery, the city staff, to present any changes that may have been made since our last hearing.
Morning, Commissioners. Jessica Dockery, city staff. This is the case that you all requested additional information for, and in your packet, the changes have been highlighted to make it clear. I'd like to request that all application and presentation materials be entered into the record. And let me go ahead and share. Okay. So originally we had 2 driveways shown, and there was a question about the height difference between the original and the accessory structure buildings. So we now have 16 feet in height to the peak of the roof of the primary structure, and the accessory structure also at 16 feet to the height, the peak of the roof. And then the driveway has been altered to have 1 drive. Bear with me. So there will be 1 entrance. It will be shared by both dwellings, and these are pervious pavers in response to some concerns about the impervious surface. And I'll let the applicant add anything else.
This is Jeff Monsine. Thank you. Yeah, so we tried to address all the concerns. We feel we lowered the roof pitch by over 3 feet, so it is now a clearly subordinate structure to the main house. So that was one of the big things, and also the driveway, I think, was the other main concern. We had 2 driveway entrances, so we made 1, and then again, as Jessica stated, we were using permeable pavers to address some of the neighbors' concerns and the impervious surface question. So we feel like, with these adjustments, that hopefully the committee would approve our project.
Chair Hamilton, I believe we forgot to swear everybody in.
Oh, sorry.
If this is a continuation, they've already been sworn in. Are there any new Well, I guess, yeah, Dawn O'Toole with the city's attorney office. Can you, if this is a continuation, do we need to re-swear in everyone for this hearing?
I would agree that if it's a continuation, they've already been sworn in for this case.
Okay. Thank you. But thank you, Jessica, for
You're welcome. Just trying to keep you clean.
appreciate it. Okay, and thank you, Mr. Monsigne, for your presentation. Is there any other, is there anyone else in attendance who wishes to speak for or against this case?
Yes, this is Tim McMacken.
Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I appreciate the changes in the height and in the paving. My concern is that this ADU is still very close to my side yard. Last time I showed a rule that on a corner unit, the ADU needs to be 10 feet off of the side yard or the rear yard of that building. And I've done some research, and that 10-foot rule did not make it into the UDO, but I'm still going to ask for additional separation here because it's a corner lot. And even though it's 5 feet off the rear of the primary structure, it's 5 feet on my side yard. My house was built in the 30s, and it's 8 feet from the house to the property line. So I'm going to ask for 8 feet separation there so the houses aren't packed in like sardines. And that's all I can ask, just the separation for the comfort and the aesthetics for the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. McMacken. Do you have any way of framing that in regards to the criteria for the Historic Preservation Commission?
Nothing specific except the character of the neighborhood.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Monsigne, do you have any way you'd like to address that?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to stick with the UDO and the building codes. I don't really see any options to make any further separation. We're going to do everything through the permitting office, and but I don't, the site, when you do these ADUs, as most of you know, I mean, the site, the city is, with the expanding housing choices, are trying to get more density, more diversity of housing. So, when you do them, the site is already tight enough, and that's why they made the setbacks what they did. So I really don't see any option of, expand, making it from a 5-foot setback to 8-foot setback. I mean, that, it won't work with pretty much any of these projects that come to the board. I mean, these sites are already tight enough. So, but we will, do everything within the parameters of the city planning department.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Monsigne. Are there any commissioners who have questions or issues they'd like to discuss with the applicant or the opponent?
Quick question. I think I'm remembering that there was going to be a tree added. Can you use the cursor on the screen that you have now to indicate where that is?
JB?
Yeah, do I have the ability to use the cursor?
Can you see my cursor here?
That's the tree now. And
this is the tree that will be removed, and then there was a plan to put a tree here, and let me see if I have included that final plan. It may not be here. Okay, Jeff, would you please tell me if I'm correct? There's one tree planned here.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, JB. So this one would be removed, and an additional tree would be added here.
The tree that would be removed is under the power line and has been severely pruned. So we're suggesting placement of a tree outside the right of way, not directly under the power line, but instead adjacent to the power line.
Thank you.
Are there any other commissioners with questions?
Vice Chair Bouchard, just with a quick point of clarification. The initial application from last month indicated that the primary structure is 1 story and 12 feet in height. And the revised application for today states that the primary structure is 1 story and 16 feet in height. Mr. Monzine, can you explain the discrepancy between those two measurements?
Well, we measured the first one to the soffit, and then and Jess, excuse me, JB, you may want to chime in, but then we measured the 16 feet is to the tip of the gable, the peak of the gable.
Okay.
Go ahead, JB.
Yeah, no, that's it, to the peak. So at the last meeting, there was a suggestion for consistency in the way that we're using measurements. So we now have the ADU, proposed ADU is, the height has been reduced to 16, and we're using a similar measurement to the peak of the main house. And so it is at 16.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from commissioners for the applicant or the opponent? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public hearing. And then if the commissioners have issues they'd like to discuss or amongst themselves, please do so.
Katie, I have a couple comments. First of all, my understanding is that we're supposed to gauge how these additions to the neighborhood affect other structures in the vicinity. And clearly the neighbor brings up a good point. I'm not sure what we can do in this case, but I think this is something we need to look at. And then the second comment I have is this new ADU business, particularly in these historic neighborhoods, is something we're going to have to deal with more and more. Mr. Monzine has indicated that this is going to be a focus of some of the stuff he's doing going forward, and I'm sure there'll be others. And I'm not commenting on whether or not this is a good or bad thing, just that we are going to probably approve a structure exactly like a structure we approved last month. And another part of the criteria is these structures are to be compatible with the architectural style of the primary structure. And you can't tell me that identical structures have been thought about being incompatible with these houses. So if we're going to continue to look at these things and their impact on these historic districts, we cannot rubber stamp the same house over and over and over and over again. And I would have a very hard time supporting doing so, and just kind of want to put that out there.
This is Jeff. Can I interject at this part or not? Or should I wait?
The public hearing is technically closed.
Okay,
So
I can address that maybe at another point with Mr. DeBerry then. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry. Interrupt.
No, that's fine. Thanks. Jonathan, you unmuted.
I'm muted because I think that an applicant can respond to our discussion. I'm not sure. I don't want to get into anybody's. He's applicant. He's not public in this sense, but maybe legal. Don, that we missed you so much.
Thank
Are
you.
you
But
saying
I know
I
you've
should-
been in good hands with Krista.
That's true.
You know, the chair basically stated a position that it's been returned back to the board. I think it's really up to the board if concerns are raised whether you want to give the applicant time to respond to those concerns. That's
Yeah, I guess we can reopen the public hearing on this matter to give Mr. Monsine time to address Tad's concerns.
I mean, I wouldn't really view that as reopening the public hearing. It's back at the table, and the board is discussing this issue. If you want to give the applicant an opportunity to respond to a concern, I feel like you can do that.
Okay. Well, with that, then Mr. Monsine, feel free to respond to Mr. DeBerry's concerns.
Okay, thank you. So a couple things on just addressing Mr. McCacken's, I hope I'm Mick Mackin, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. So, on that particular structure, just to address what he said, he has already built a huge, addition, I'm sure it was all within the building codes and all that. So he has built a very large structure on the back of his existing house already. In a term that I've heard being used as like a camelback, you have the small structure and then you have the big house, the big part in the back. So, I think in a way it's a little unfair for somebody that's already built what they wanted to build to, want to try to, suggest to restrict what I'm building, number one. And that's just a comment. It's not a negative because I've done more than my share of building over there as well. As far as the duplication, at least far as I'm concerned, Mr. DeBerry, we're going to come back with you on another one, and we are going to great efforts in this at another address to make it fit in with the house. So at least as far as I'm concerned, we're not going to come back with, the exact same repeat of the same structure. So in one case, the next one has a shed type dormer and the ADU had an A-frame, and we're going to try to go with a shed type dormer to match the house. So, there is only so many ways you can build these ADUs, but as far as, that I'm concerned, I don't, my wife's an interior designer by trade, and she would not let me do that. She would kill me if I come back with the exact same structures on every situation. I mean, that's just where I'm not going to do it. And I look forward to getting your input on the next one that comes up. So I appreciate your comments, but I just felt like it was important for me to bring that up to you.
Jeff, can I ask a clarifying question on how this proposed structure is different from the one we approved last month, other than height? Can you clarify there?
Well, in that particular case, it is similar. I think the big deal there is one is behind the house, and it really isn't going to be that visible. It's going to be behind 1111 Georgia Avenue. So I think, and then this one is, of course, on a corner that's going to be more visible. But yeah, in this particular case, the roof pitch is much lower, and that's and there could be a couple design elements with the porch, but they are very, in these two cases, they are very similar, but not exact.
Okay, so just to reflect what I'm hearing and following your logic, they are two very similar ADUs, which your wife is letting you do in this case, to your point, because one is hidden and one is visible. Is that right?
Well, right. I mean, we're kind of limited a little bit on both of these because of the height. I mean, that's what's because on 1111 on Georgia, that again is a low structure. So there's only so many ways to build them. But I think the fact that one is behind the structure and then one is facing the street, I think, and also, 3, 4, 5 blocks away as well, have Placems is a little bit significant in it as well. But I'm not, I wouldn't expect you to rubber stamp every identical ADU. I mean, we're going to make a good effort to, if something's facing the road, is to make sure it's, it looks nice and is different from the other structures that we're going with. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah, thank you. Tad, I'd love to sort of hear you weigh in again after hearing Jeff's comments.
He and I had this discussion last month, and we talked about that first one being well hidden behind the house, sort of deep on that lot. And that this one, although it was very similar, I could live with it because they were in very different spaces and the visibility was different. I'm just concerned about going forward. And not just Mr. Monsine, but I think we're going to see a lot of builders doing this in these neighborhoods. And, the criteria is fairly clear on the character of the neighborhood and being compatible with the homes and materials and all that kind of thing. And I'm just concerned that we need to think about these and make sure they're not just cookie cuttered all over the neighborhood, and they could really change the character if we're not careful. And that's, I think, one of the things we're supposed to be monitoring.
Vice Chair Bouchard, following up on that, Tad, do you have specific concerns in this case that there is incompatibility between the accessory structure and the primary structure? I completely appreciate the concern generally and agree that it's something we need to be mindful of going forward. But with respect to this particular application, is there a concern on your part that the criterion itself hasn't been met, the criterion that the accessory structure be compatible with the primary?
In as much as you can do, I think probably this meets the criteria. As Mr. Monsine says, the size and what this has got to do and where it can be placed puts a lot of constraints on things. So this may be the best we can do in this situation, but I'd like to see some more creativity going forward.
Thanks.
As an echo to Tad's concerns, I do think that it would be good for us to track over time the number of these ADUs that are coming in to make sure that we're not ending up with a homogeneous historic district, which is the opposite of what we want, right? There's a lot of diversity in these districts of building types and everything like that. And if we get to be too cookie cutter throughout, it can be a death by a million cuts type thing. And so I do think we need to just make sure that we track it moving forward and don't get to a point where we're overloaded with the same exact product throughout. That kind of takes some of the character away. But for this case in particular, I am satisfied that they've met all of our historic criteria on this case. Were there any other comments or concerns or discussion amongst commissioners?
A topic change from that previous discussion item, just back to the tree. You've discussed the proposed new added tree, and it's not in the proposed motion. So I just wanted to flag that if and when we get to the motion, we, in addition to approving the removal of the existing tree, make sure that we indicate the addition of a replacement tree.
Thanks. Commissioner Fieselman. With that, if there's no other discussion amongst the commissioners, I'm willing to entertain a motion at this time.
Before moving, is there any limiting, sorry, Vice Chair Bouchard, is there any limiting language we should consider, Laura, in terms of the replacement tree?
Are you asking me, Matt?
Yes, or anybody, but do we want to put any parameters on the type of tree? I think we've done that in the past.
Last time we talked briefly about the city has proposed sort of, or the city has a list of pre-approved trees to choose from, and Jeff, you indicated that you would choose one of those. So perhaps that's all that we need, Matt.
Durham landscape manual.
Yes.
Katie, was that the Durham landscape manual? Thank you. All right, I have a motion. The Durham Historic Preservation Commission finds that in the case COA 2000036 2301 Englewood Avenue, new construction of accessory structure and site work. The applicant is proposing construction of a new accessory structure. The one-story accessory structure will be 24 feet 4 inches by 31 feet in footprint and 16 feet tall at the peak of the roof. The structure will utilize a Northampton brick foundation, cementitious horizontal sheathing, smooth side out, PVC trim, PVC and glass 6/1 sash windows, and fiberglass and glass 6-light over 2 paneled doors. The roof will be covered with architectural asphalt shingles and will shelter a recessed 1-bay wide porch on the southeast corner of the structure. The proposed driveway will be constructed of pervious paver. The driveway will widen into a pervious paver parking pad between the primary structure and accessory structure. Walkways constructed of pervious pavers will connect the parking pad to the existing concrete patio to the rear of the primary structure and to the front porch of the accessory structure. The proposed work will include HVAC equipment for the new accessory structure located on the north side of the new structure at the rear corner. Located behind the proposed parking pad, it will be minimally visible from the street. The proposed work includes the removal of a 12-inch DBH street tree. Per a letter from an arborist, this tree is not diseased or dying, but will have few, if any, branches after trimming for construction. A replacement tree from the list of approved trees in the Durham Landscape Manual shall be planted. Therefore, the conclusion of law is that the proposed addition and alterations are consistent with the historic character and qualities of the historic district and are consistent with the historic properties local review criteria, specifically those listed in the staff report, and the Durham Historic Preservation Commission approves the certificate of appropriateness for case COA 2000036 2301 Englewood Avenue, new construction of accessory structure and site work with the following conditions. 1, the improvements shall be substantially consistent with the plans and testimony presented to the commission at this commission hearing and attached to the COA. 2, the improvements may require additional approvals from other city or county departments or state or local agencies. The applicant is responsible for obtaining all required approvals relating to building construction, site work, and work in the right of way. And 3, a compliance inspection shall be performed immediately upon completion of the work approved herein.
Is there a second? Jonathan has raised his hand indicating a second. Terry, can you please do a roll call vote?
Chair, could I just make one point before the vote is taken? I count that there are 9 commission members present. 1 is recused for this item. So an affirmative vote by 5 members would be required to approve this COA.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair Bouchard,
Approved.
Commissioner Dayan,
Approved.
Commissioner DeBerry,
Approved.
Commissioner Fieselman,
Approved.
Chair Hamilton,
Approved.
Commissioner Johnson,
Approved.
Commissioner Kreger,
Approved.
Commissioner Waiters, Commissioner Waiters, Motion passes 7-0.
Correct. Did you get a vote from Ms. Waiters?
No,
Then that counts as an
as
affirmative.
an affirmative. Okay, so be 8-0.
No, I approve.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Waiters.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Waiters approved. I don't know why you didn't hear me.
All right, thank you,
Can you-
Commissioner Waiters. We hear you, and we've gotten you as an approved.
Thank you so much.
And with that, thank you to the applicants and the opponents for coming out today. We will be moving on to case COA 200-0070-701 Cobb Street modifications. We would ask that the applicants be sworn in at this time. As the clerk reads the oath to you, once you respond, please state your first and last name before affirming the oath. So with that, Terry, can you please administer the oath to today's applicants, which it looks like we have Libby Webb. And is there anyone else here
Yeah.
that wishes to be heard on this case?
Gary Ander.
All right, Terry, can you please administer the oath?
Yes, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the public proceedings for today's case is the truth by your own knowledge, information, or belief?
I do.
I do.
And then do you also affirm that you consent to this digital hearing being held via Zoom today?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. And with that, we will hear from Carla Rosenberg with the staff report.
All right, I'm a little rusty on this, but I'm going to make it work. Everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so this is case COA 20-00070, 701 Cobb Street, addition of site work. The applicant and owners are Libby Webb and Gary Ander. It's located on the southwest quadrant of the intersection of Cobb and Hill Streets, zoned residential suburban 8, and it's a non-contributing structure in the Moorhead Hill Historic District. The applicant's proposing to construct a street-facing addition on the primary structure, as well as install a new front patio wall and gate. So I'd like to introduce the staff report into the record and invite Ms. Webb and Mr. Ander to present their case. And I'm happy to scroll through the report if you'd like to refer to any of your drawings or photographs. And you'll just need to give a brief explanation of what you're doing and then answer questions.
Yeah, Carla, if you could, I guess, do the schematics. You know, this is new for us, and we really haven't had any guidance on this. So we invite your patience. Gary, do you want to say anything about our plan?
So we, again, are a non-contributing structure. We're a hard grader house built in 1980. The house is on Cobb Street. There is no front door to the house on Cobb Street. The front door is on the south side of the house. And so the rear of the house, actually. We are adding 150 square feet. That's the proposal to a master bedroom. This will help us actually age in place. The structure is clapboard, and the structure actually won't change very much from the Cobb side of the house. It will move towards Cobb Street an additional 4 feet. The entire addition is actually about 25 feet by 6 feet, but it's in an area that's offset on the Cobb side front of the house. If you could go back to those pictures, Carla, of the
North side.
of the north side of the house. This is the south side of the house. This is the north side of the house, and you'll see if you can, this is the east side. Carla, if you can go back a couple to that Cobb side front. So this is actually a very minimal addition. Again, it's a non-contributing structure. It will not change.
There it is.
Let me talk to this one. You'll see on the right side, this left side is 2 feet in front of that right side of the structure now. This right side of the structure will come out another 6 feet, but only 4 feet in front of the left side towards Cobb Street. It will be about 1.5 stories high, and there will be 3 small windows up about 8 feet on that north side of the house. And then to the right of that will be a gate, because there'll be a small patio coming off this master bedroom. So that, the entire addition really is just 150 square feet. It's about 6 by 25.
And then I think everybody should have these materials. Is that correct, Carla? I think you're muted, Carla.
Yes, we have them. And Carla's
Okay.
shooting her
Okay.
head.
So,
Yes, that is correct.
okay, great.
Some commissioners received hard copies if requested, and then they have access to the online version as well.
Okay, great. So yeah, so I think we're happy to answer questions since we're new to this process, and we don't have somebody representing us who is familiar. We'd be happy to answer y'all's questions.
Great. Thank you so much for your presentation. Is there anyone else here to speak for or against this case before we move on to commissioner questions? Okay, hearing none. Are there any questions from the commissioners for the applicants or for staff?
This is Commissioner Fieselman with a question about siding and the materials. You indicate 3 potential choices. Have you landed on one yet, or still in consideration?
Yeah, we haven't, and happy to take your feedback about that. If there are any that you're troubled by.
Well, and I guess our concern too is, what will you accept? So we would actually like to make a little bit of a distinction architecturally on that new addition, but it could be exactly duplicating the existing structure now so that it's hardly noticeable. We think it might be interesting to have it that material be a little bit different and contrasting to the present clapboard siding.
Thanks for that. I don't personally have an opinion. I certainly defer to the design professionals here, but just curious.
Andy, do you have an opinion? I know I like the contrast, but.
Yeah, there was our architect that we're working with, Notch Design, is suggesting a little slight contrast.
we actually think it would improve the look from Cobb Street, because what we have now is pretty much a box that faces the street.
Yeah, this is Andy. I don't have any opinion one way or another. As as long as it's keeping in the criteria in terms of the materials and what you can do on a non-contributing structure.
Yeah, I don't have much of an opinion. I don't have much of an opinion on either, as long as it meets the guidelines. But typically in historic structures, we do prefer a slight difference so that you can always tell the difference between the original historic structure and then the addition. So I think it's just always a good way to continue telling the story of a building, even though this is not contributing. It kind of documents changes.
I think April makes a great point. Just because this building is non-contributing now, hopefully someday, it will rise to that level, and being able to tell the story of the building by some of its finishes, and I think that's a great point.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions for the applicants or the staff? All right, hearing none, is there any discussion amongst the commissioners related to this case? All right, hearing none, I am willing to entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Don.
Durham Historic Preservation Commission finds that in case COA 2000070 Cobb Street, addition and site work, the applicant is proposing an addition and site work on a non-contributing structure. The street-facing addition will be constructed with unpainted and treated horizontal vertical shiplap siding. Fenestration on the addition will include a sliding glass door and frameless corner window. A brick patio measuring 4 by 14.5 feet will border the home's west side elevation. A painted wood fence measuring 7 feet in height with matching gate and vegetated screen will border the patio. An HVAC unit currently located along the street-facing elevation will be relocated along the same elevation, reusing the existing wood screening structure. And electrical meters will be moved from the non-street-facing side of the house to the side of the screening structure facing the street. Therefore, the conclusion of law is that the proposed addition and alterations are consistent with the historic character and qualities of the historic district and are consistent with the historic properties local review criteria, specifically those listed in the staff report, and the Durham Historic Preservation Commission approves the certificate of appropriateness for case COA 2000070 Cobb Street, addition and site work with the following conditions. Improvements shall be substantially consistent with the plans and testimony presented to the commission at this commission hearing and on the attached COA. The improvements may require additional approvals from city or county departments, state or local agencies. The application is responsible for obtaining all required approvals relating to building construction, site work, and work in the right-of-way, and a compliance inspection shall be performed immediately upon completion of the work approved herein. That's it.
Second.
The motion having been made by Commissioner DeBerry and seconded by Commissioner Fieselman, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Vice Chair Pritchard.
Approved.
Commissioner Dan.
Approved.
Commissioner DeBerry.
Approved.
Commissioner Fieselman.
Approved.
Commissioner Goolsby,
Approved.
Chair Hamilton,
Approved.
Commissioner Johnson,
Approved.
Commissioner Krager,
Approved.
Commissioner Waiters.
Approved.
Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the applicants for coming out and presenting your case today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
With that, we will be moving on to case COA 2000073 2119 West Club Boulevard, modifications and site work. Is the applicant on the call today? Looks like we're looking for Jennifer Johnson and Marina Heatsig.
I'm here. This is John Black, applicant.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Black. Are there any other individuals here to speak for or against this case today? Nancy McLaughlin has raised her hand.
They're coming in. I apologize, Chair.
Okay, that's fine. We will give it a minute for them to join. All right. So it looks like Mr. Black and Miss McLaughlin are the two here for the case today. If you could, upon hearing the oath, state your first and last name and affirm that you do consent to the oath as stated by Terry. Terry, can you please?
Yes. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the public hearing proceeding for this case is the truth by your own knowledge, information, or belief?
I'm Black. I swear.
Thank you.
Nancy McLaughlin, I swear.
Thank you.
And then, Mr. Black, do you consent to the digital hearing being done via Zoom today?
I consent.
And Ms. McLaughlin, do you consent to this hearing being done via the digital Zoom hearing
Yes.
today?
Yes, I consent.
Thank you. And then with that, we will move to the staff report. Is it Carla or Bo?
It'll be me, Bo Dobrinsky. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, welcome everyone. The applicant is proposing an addition to a contributing structure in the Watts-Hillendale Local Historic District. That's 2119 West Club Boulevard. Also included in this proposal is a deck off the rear. There's some modifications to what is an existing addition off the rear of the structure, including a new door and a landing for the door, and the removal of existing door, replacing it with windows. Sorry about that. At this time, I'll let the applicant speak, and I can scroll to any portions of the application to assist them.
Am I able to share my screen? Is that, it might be easier.
No, I think if I'm correct, the city staff needs to maintain control over what is displayed on the city's
Okay.
virtual hearings.
Bo, if you just want to stop on the plans there, that'd be great.
Sure.
Maybe the proposed elevations. All right, so this is John Black with Riverbank Construction speaking on behalf of the owners of this property. The addition that's being proposed on this structure, you can see with the hatched portion of the elevation drawings, it's basically an extension of a gable on the back of the house. We're proposing to continue the same form of the roof structure and actually rebuild a portion of the rear roof to basically correct an old roof that was modified from an old addition. You can see we're planning to continue the same material on the siding, the wooden shakes, the same brick foundation that would just be painted to match the existing. And you can see we are proposing to remove some of the existing windows and a door, mostly for practical reasons for what's going on the inside of the house due to location of kitchen and bathrooms. And then also we're removing the door on the east elevation and putting one on the west elevation, again, for practical reasons, mostly because the driveway is on the west side of the house. So it makes more sense to have one over there. You can see that we've tried to show the addition as subordinate to the main house in that it is under the primary gable at the front of the house. It does not raise above that height. It's also stepped in from the east and west sides of the house. And then the screen porch at the very back is even shorter than the addition to the house. And again, stepped in on each side to show it as insubordinate or subordinate. With that, I'm open to any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Did any of the commissioners have questions from Mr. Black in regards to this application?
Have any of the architectural components that you're taking out, windows, doors, have you looked at reusing them somewhere in the construction?
We have not proposed to reuse them simply because of, quite honestly, you can get a higher quality product, finish out of a new window, better seal and all that. So we have not proposed to reuse any of them. And some of the new windows that we need are smaller in size, so they could not be reused. So our thought was to make all of the addition have the same new windows rather than mix and match old and new.
And have you considered other ways to tie the addition in with the existing house besides just using the shakes?
Materials.
Yeah, maybe brackets or other, visuals that just.
We certainly could. We certainly could repeat that. Those brackets, I believe they're visible on the main gable on the east and west elevation. Bo, if you show those. Yeah, there you go. And even on that front gable. We could repeat those on the back, on the rear gable. It's facing the backyard, so it would never be seen from the street, but we could certainly introduce those.
I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense, but I'm just wondered what your design process was, because the porch looks very contemporary as opposed to the rest of the house. And I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but it just is very different. And there don't seem to be any design cues that sort of tie it to the rest of the structure.
You're correct. It's merely the form underneath the roof gable. The homeowners desired to have a more contemporary look, and since it was in the back of the house, we tried to again scale it down, pull it in from the sides so it'd be less visible from the front. But other than that, other than the form and the materials, I've got nothing else.
John, thanks. It's clear your care with the form makes a lot of sense. And Tad, thanks for bringing up the porch. I am looking at the local review criteria on decks and porches, which says design decks and screened-in porches to be compatible with the historic structure in style, material, scale, and proportion. So, yep, particularly the cable railing feels out of place to me. And John, I'd love your feedback on that.
Sure. Yeah, I agree on that. And actually, we were able to talk the homeowners into changing that. And maybe you didn't get the updated scope right up, but we got the homeowners to change from cable rail to a horizontal galvanized pipe conduit railing that would be in wood posts. So I think that's a little more historically appropriate than the thin stainless cable rail, but still gives them a bit of the contemporary feel that they want. So that was kind of our compromise.
Okay, thanks for that info. I hear you that you're caught between the homeowners and the
Yep.
criteria.
Yep.
All right.
I have one other comment, and this is something we've discussed at this committee in the past, is wood steps and stoops on houses like these where typically they may have been brick. And again, these are on the rear and side, not really visible, but just would love to hear what the other commissioners think and what the designers think.
Andy, do you have strong opinions on that, or April, or anyone else?
I think as long as the material is approvable, it is in the rear. We do sometimes see wood steps, but I think that's just at the discretion of the property owner, as long as the material is acceptable according to the guidelines. I see all kinds of steps: concrete, wood, brick. But I'm not as concerned about the less visible areas than I am about the more visible areas.
Yeah, I agree with April. I tend to see wood steps throughout the districts too.
Okay, and then we also have Nancy McLaughlin here to speak.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm calling in from my cell phone, so you won't be able to see me. My name is Nancy McLaughlin, and I live at 1116 Oval Drive. And because of I'm on Oval and they're on Club, my rear yard is adjacent to their rear yard. I first want to comment on you were continually saying that well, first of all, I want to say that I signed up to speak before I saw the details of the plans, and I didn't know how big and extensive the additions would be. And I only was able to see the plans this morning when I got back from my vacation trip, my holiday trip. First of all, people keep saying it's in the rear and it won't be visible, but this back porch is visible from Oval Drive and from Oval Park. And I think that should be taken into consideration. They may not be able to see the steps, but they may be able to see the railing from another street. And so just because it's in the rear of the property does not mean it won't be seen. And it will be seen by me and by the other neighbors who have adjacent properties. So I don't know how the developer thought about that, the visibility from Oval Drive rather than the visibility from the front. So that was one concern that just came up from your discussion. My main concern is about drainage and water flow problems that come from any construction. The construction seems minimal, but it's not clear anytime when somebody gets a new property whether they're going to be doing major regrading in the backyard, adding patios and pathways. And this particular area does have drainage problems. When the area was developed, the creek that actually runs diagonally through my yard and through their backyard and onto Oval Drive was encapsulated in an underground pipe. It concerns me that that underground pipe is not on the survey map, and it runs through my property and through the southwest corner of the 2119 property. It's taking a large flow of water, and I thought that that underground structure should be on their property, and that's on their property should be on any survey map in case any grading or ancillary little structures were being put up back there, like a backyard shed. My second concern is that there is still a lot of water flow that in effect goes over where this pipe is. Where the creek used to be, that's where the water flows. And when there's a lot of rain, it's large amounts of water. It goes diagonally across my yard, across the corner of their yard, then across the next yard to the south onto the city's stormwater. And I want to be assured that they don't do any regrading. And if they do put more impervious structures there, they take into consideration the natural flow of water, which is from my property onto their property, and that they don't put up any type of barriers to prevent water from flowing from my property onto their property. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
All right, thank you. So I will say stormwater is outside of the purview of the Historic Preservation Commission. This is likely something that will need to be addressed with city staff.
Yes, I have. We had problems with another neighboring property, and I've been through this with one historic property already. I think it's something that as Mr. DeBerry was saying, that the properties are so close together and any changes do affect the neighbors. And you are more concerned about shingles than you are about possible damage to neighboring properties due to these unintended consequences of extra water flow. And it's something that I think should at least be considered. And I wanted to get on record that it's something that I hope the developer and the owners consider if they are going to be doing any significant regrading or site work. But like I said, the fact that that underground pipe is not on their survey is something that should be there in case they plan any additional work there.
Thank you. Were there any questions from commissioners for the opponent?
I don't have a question right now. Just kind of wanted to, with the neighbor's concern, I just wanted to know if a staff person could connect her with the right department for her particular complaint, because our purview is based on design. And so these other issues may be valid concerns that she has. So she needs to be connected to the stormwater department or whoever does the permitting for all of that, so that she can.
Yes.
April, I'll ensure that we speak to her and that whatever's built is compliant with city codes as it relates to stormwater.
Thank you.
I'm John Black, Riverbank Construction. May I speak quickly?
Yeah, yes.
I'm willing to provide my email address right now to Ms. McLaughlin, if that's okay, and we can be in touch about any future grading or landscaping, because I am currently unaware of any plans for landscaping that backyard. But should that arise, I'd be glad to speak with her. Our team would be glad to hear her concerns and invite her to participate in any conversations in the future. If you'd like, I can share my email address right now.
Yes, I'd like that. The reason is this happened on the neighboring property, and there was a lot of focus on the design of the house. And then all of a sudden there was this major regrading of the backyard, which apparently was not under the jurisdiction of this committee. And so I just wanted to get this out there, that major regrading, major designing of impervious surfaces in the backyard has a significant effect on the neighbors. And there's really no commission hearing to deal with major changes in the design of the backyard when it is not officially a historic structure.
Yeah.
Well, my email address is johnjohn at riverbankcustomhomes.com. And if you just send me an email, I'll be sure that you're included on future conversations about the backyard.
Okay, could you spell that again for me, your first name?
John, John,
Okay.
at riverbankcustomhomes with an S.com.
Okay, thank you. And then my second concern was the design of the rear porch and taking into consideration the fact that it can be seen from a street, even though it isn't from the street in front of the house.
Yeah, we will look at, I think we can look at Oval Drive's street view to get a better understanding of what is and is not visible from that street.
Yeah. Are we in commission discussion yet or still? No, we're not.
If you have questions for either the applicant or the opponent.
Well, okay, no, we can do this in discussion.
Katie, I do have one for John, and this is Andy Goolsby. Just with regards to expanding the structure, your elevations noted where there's an existing historic house where there was an addition, early addition, and then your new construction. Can you speak to the era of the first addition? Is that part of the historic character of the house, or is it something from the 90s that was made to look like the house?
I can only speculate. This is John Black again. I can only speculate that addition was very old. Bo, I believe you have the Sanborn map available. Is that correct? So that shows the existing structure with you see the rear portion there is stepped in from the other sides of the house. That's not the way that it exists today. It's a rectangular box all the way around. So at some point, somebody added on in those little corners so that it's just a flush box. And the materials match right now. It's the same shake siding. It's a brick infill foundation. So it's really hard to say when that was done, but it was after this map was done, which is 1937. It seems old.
Mm-hmm. No, they did a good job of it, right? So.
Yeah.
Were there any other questions for the applicant or opponent?
Yeah, this is Vice Chair Bouchard, trying to dig down a little bit more on Tad's concern about the windows. Mr. Black, if you could help me understand first, which windows on the existing elevations are proposed to be removed? Because I don't know if I'm confusing myself.
Sure. Sure.
The proposed elevations, the west elevation, proposed elevation in particular, suggests that there's going to be an existing window replaced. I don't see in the existing elevations that window being called out as being replaced like it does in the existing east elevation. So I'm just trying to get a sense for exactly how many windows on each of the west and the east elevations are proposed for removal.
Sure. Bo, I think the proposed elevations are going to be more helpful. There you go.
Okay.
So looking at the east elevation first, then you can see the dotted lines are the existing windows and door. There's the door there directly underneath that primary gable. We're proposing to remove that since that's now becoming a bathroom on the inside. And there's a smaller window proposed there. There's an existing single to the left of that we're proposing to go back with a larger twin unit, and those have to be larger because that's becoming a what could be a bedroom, a guest room.
And need to be larger for egress purposes?
Egress, yeah.
Okay.
The existing single beyond that, we're proposing to replace with the shorter twin unit. And that's simply because that's becoming kitchen and we need countertops to go on that wall. So shorter windows are practically required. So those are what's being proposed to be replaced there. If you go to the west elevation, Bo.
I went the easy way.
There's a single double hung right there that we're proposing to replace with a shorter double hung, again because it's becoming a bathroom. So functionally it's better to have more privacy there, especially with the new entry stair.
Is that?
And then the windows, the entire front of the house, the front half of the house staying the same. On the rear elevation, I guess you could go to either the existing elevation or the photos. That works. So all of those we're proposing to remove because obviously the interior space is expanding.
Okay. So it looks like there are, I might be miscounting here.
1,
but
2, 3, 4, 5, maybe seven or 8.
I'm just curious, and I can't tell what the sizes are of these 5/1 windows are, but it looks like based on the west elevation, it looks like the size of window to be replaced is the same as one of the windows to be replaced on the east elevation, the one that's furthest towards the backyard, as well as the same size as one of the windows proposed to be removed from the south elevation. Is that correct? Are those all the same size?
That the window that is proposed to be removed from the east side or the west side, yeah, that one right there, it is very similar in size to the new one that's being proposed to the right of the entry door. Yes, so that's a potential for sliding that down, assuming the old one can provide egress for that bedroom.
Well, I guess, getting to the bottom line of the sort of reason for these questions, and without having specific proportions in these plan sheets, I'm just wondering if there are enough of these 5/1 windows to basically serve as the windows to be used on both the west and east elevations for the enclosure. The proposed addition.
I would say, this is Andy, I would add to that, keeping in mind the overall rhythm and proportion of those elevations and not piecemealing that together. Looks like some are shorter than others. So maybe there are certain ones that make sense to reuse.
And that's what I'm driving at. Are there opportunities here to reuse windows that are going to be removed from certain portions of this house? It would give me a greater degree of confidence in voting to approve this proposal. We've been pretty mindful of original openings and the requirements governing original window openings in the past. And ideally, I'd like to honor that if it's possible.
I don't believe any of the shorter existing windows can be reused. But that one that you're the taller one that you're looking at on the east elevation.
Yep.
And the taller one that is on the west elevation, they could be reused in the addition.
And what about the taller one in the south elevation? I'm just wondering if those three windows are the same size.
Sure. That one right there. Okay.
Yep.
So they're all singles. Bo, could you go back to the proposed elevations?
And could that small one on the south be used in one of your bathroom applications?
My only concern with doing that is that the at least the master is in the shower, and so we had actually hoped to install a all fiberglass window. So not just wood clad, but fiberglass through and through, just to protect it from moisture and rot. That would be my only concern there. But so we've got, a couple twin window units. So we could put two of the existing taller ones on this elevation to form one of those twin units. And then that third one could probably go on the west elevation. If you look at the west, yep, right back there.
Exactly.
Yep. So we could do that.
Jonathan, may I ask a question? This is to John and Bo. Do you think your professional opinions to put a wood window in a bathroom would be appropriate or not? In a shower, sorry.
Well, I have a historic house. I have a wood window in my bathroom. But
Yeah,
it's old wood though, so I don't know, that maybe that's a difference.
I would like to hear their professional opinion on this, because what was not everything that was built in the past is its standards today. So we need to see that the standards also adhere to.
It certainly requires additional maintenance, but would be acceptable.
Well, and aren't there two small openings, one on either side of the house? There's only one small window available. So maybe we could use it in one and use the fiberglass in the wet area.
Actually, Bo, if you go to the proposed floor plan, I think it's on the front page of the plans. You'll see that the showers are on both of the exterior walls and both of them have the window. And just out of practice, we try to avoid putting wood windows in showers just because over the longevity of it, it's not a good idea. We obviously, as builders, we don't want to be called back, several years down the road. Hey, my window's rotting. Yeah, that's because we put wood in your shower. And just given the height of the existing window, I could understand if it were a shorter, squattier window that we could push up higher and get it out of the flow of water or the splash zone in the shower. But given the size of even the smaller existing windows, I would just feel concerned putting them actually in the shower.
I think if you could reuse the majority of those windows, I certainly could support using something appropriate in the bathrooms.
Yes, now that we're looking at the plan, this is John Black again. So for the 3 taller existing windows, I think we could put the one in the laundry room and the other 2, we could form the twin in the great room. Because in the great room, no matter the size of those existing windows, there's no egress requirements as it's not a bedroom. So I think the great room and the laundry room are good opportunities to reuse those 3 taller existing ones.
Can you show me, Mr. Black, where the laundry room is on the
Elevation?
Current elevation? Yeah.
So you're looking at, it'd be the window to the right of the side entry.
Okay, so the addition, the proposed addition.
Correct, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other questions from commissioners for the applicant or the opponent? All right. Is there any other discussion? With that, we can close the public hearing. Is there any other discussion amongst commissioners in regards to the criteria in this application?
Vice Chair Bouchard, I think it's pretty obvious the concern I have. What I am going to suggest, and I'd be curious to get some feedback on, is if and when we get to the proposed motion, modifying the bullet dealing with original windows to require that the 3 taller existing 5/1 double hung windows slated to be removed will be reused, with 2 of the windows being placed on the east elevation of the addition, the proposed addition, and the 3rd on the west elevation of the proposed addition. Wanted to see what folks' reaction to that was, and then the question becomes the smaller windows. Do we want to require the applicant, if they're willing to do it, to place those smaller 5/1 windows somewhere else?
So I am in agreement on the larger windows. I do worry about, like, if we just start having them stick every single window on the back of it, whether or not that'll work against the rhythm that we see. Because are you asking them to add additional windows on the rear with those smaller ones? Is that your thought, Matt, when you say that?
No, it isn't. I guess my thought was, are there, and I kind of tracked the larger window issue, but I haven't done as good a job tracking the smaller window issue. Are there places where those smaller windows are slated to be incorporated into the changed work, such that if there already is a smaller window slated for removal, it could be removed and slotted into where one is being planned? If the answer to that is no, then especially given the limitations involved in the bathroom, I get that. But if
Can
there
we
are
bring John back to answer if the 2 smaller ones could be paired over the kitchen counter?
I want to have a reservation here, because I think we're going into, I also would like Don's opinion, but although I agree with the intent and the need to use the old, or the preference to use the old windows, the requirement I don't think is in our purview. I feel to require, if the applicant would like to do that, and when we could add it to the motion, I'm fully supportive, and I would recommend. I would be thankful if it would be, but to require it, I'm not sure that is in our purview.
Well, we are required to abide by the criterion to retain and repair original windows. Window components may be consolidated and used in the most prominent location. And it seems to me that the best way of accomplishing that, if windows slated for removal are the same size and style as windows that are, planned to be incorporated into the proposed addition or other portions of the work, it seems to me we honor that criterion best by approving a COA that
Right, maybe the
Cost
applicant
reduction.
would want to, maybe the applicant would agree to it. The question is, do we put it as a requirement or ask the applicant right now if that's something they're in agreement with?
Jonathan, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, the idea would be to get the consent of the applicant to make this change, not to impose it. My biggest concern was coming into this hearing, the applicant hadn't made any arrangements for reusing any of these original windows. And that's a real problem for me in terms of giving my approval to the COA. If the applicant is willing to make modifications to the COA such that the original windows to the maximum extent possible can be reincorporated into the work, that makes me feel a whole lot better about voting yay on the overall COA.
I agree with you on that too.
Yeah,
And John,
I agree with Matt too. I would like to see as many of these windows reused, and it would help me vote favorably on the entire COA.
Yeah, I want to say I agree with you too, Matt, and I'd like to see their windows reused. I mean, according to the criteria of the criteria, and it did feel a little it seems a little unsettling that there was no plan for the windows, or I did want to ask John Black what the conditions of each window, pairs and singles that will be replaced, that will be removed, are they in the proper condition to be reinstalled in another place and can be retrofitted for modernity?
Yeah, this is John Black. I don't see any reason why they couldn't be reused. They've been fairly well protected with storm windows. And I mean, without taking them out and seeing if anything is malfunctioning within the walls, I can't say, but I don't see any reason why they could not be reused. Anything can be fixed, so.
Right. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that aspect.
Yeah. If there is an issue, by the way, with the windows while you take them off, that's a minor COA, and that's something that I assume maybe staff, Bo, you can regard to that. But that's not, if you're going to say you're using them and then something happens, it's the process.
Right. And I can say also, this is John Black again, that we're certainly willing to try to reuse anything that we can. I do agree that the larger ones present the best opportunity for reuse. The smaller ones are different sizes. And again, I've spoke to the practical concerns in the showers. Also at the kitchen, we would prefer to have something that functions a little better, like a casement window, simply because it's, again, a practical reason. So I would be more than willing to reuse the taller windows. The smaller ones, however, I'd be less excited about trying to reuse.
Mr. Black, if I could, Vice Chair Bouchard again, one last question here about the smaller windows. What is the use of the space east elevation where the door is going to be removed and a window is going to be put in its place, one of the smaller windows?
That's one of the showers.
That's one of the showers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the double smaller windows.
That's above the kitchen sink.
Okay. And so there's a concern that say, for example, existing smaller window on the existing east elevation would not have the same functionality as
a casement window. There's that, and then they're different sizes. So with a new window in that location, we can get a larger opening than what the existing small ones can provide.
Okay.
I just think at the kitchen sink, it'd be nicer to have a larger opening than kind of the little portal hole that you see at the existing small windows.
Okay, another question on reusing the tall windows. So we've identified that there are 3 tall windows that are coming out, and in the rear addition, 3 tall windows needed, 1 in the laundry room and 2 in the great room. There's
Correct.
also 2 tall windows needed to go into the guest bedroom.
Correct.
That we are currently, in the current conversation, would be new and operable for egress.
Yes, my concern with trying to use the old ones there would be egress.
Okay.
It may
just
look
adding that to
better.
the mix of
It
window
may look,
conversation.
it may look better historically because that's the older part of the house. But I'm just concerned about egress.
Makes sense. I'm okay with where we've landed here in reusing the 3 tall ones on the rear addition and the other small ones, given the uses of the space and the differing sizes of the existing windows, to be new.
And then for the cable railing, what was the actual proposed material that you were using? I remember it was wood with
wood posts with galvanized steel conduit instead of the cable railing.
And you said it was horizontal in lieu
Horizontal.
of vertical?
Into a vertical wood post.
Is there a new plan or visual or something to submit to? Do we have to submit something like that, or is a description good enough?
The modification could be reflected in the motion, and you can provide updated plans to me before final approval.
Now that we're in discussion, I want to express concern. Even, you know, galvanized steel pipe to me feels pretty clearly not compatible with historic structure in style, material, scale, and proportion as the guidelines read. I'd love to hear what others' thinking is there.
Metal, I think sometimes we do find metal. It would just depend on, I don't remember what the criteria says, but you wouldn't find horizontal.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have more problems with that material than I would have with a cable rail, because the cable is, you know, much thinner and less visually noticeable. Like if you had a cable rail between wooden posts, that would be, at least for me, less of a visual, like, I mean, galvanized steel tubes are going to be
yeah,
visible, I think more visible from Oval Drive and some of those concerns that were brought up.
And speaking of visibility, Bo, is it possible for you? I don't know what that looks like from Oval Drive, and there isn't a picture in the evidence. So I don't know how to judge that, what the visibility is. And I knew we had visibility discussions before, but do we distinguish between just visible or highly visible? Are there levels to that? We haven't had that discussion in a while, so I'm just asking the commission.
I think
This is Andy.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to add to the questions of if the property does not face Oval Drive, do we have? Is there concern, or do we have purview there if the property itself does not face the street?
Yeah, I think we have differing levels of, like, for me, and the way I've interpreted it, there's, you know, your character defining elevations, as we used to use the term, which were mainly street facing. And Bo, can you pull it up on Google Maps? I'm looking at Google Maps and you can see the rear of this building from Oval Drive. So while I don't think it needs to be held to the same criteria and stringency of criteria as you would from West Club Boulevard, I do think that there is some visibility there that needs to be considered when we're talking about these, steel pipes that are not a material that is traditionally used throughout the neighborhood.
To add to that, regardless of visibility, the visibility question, which is a good one, April, the local review criteria, I'm on number 5 under decks and porches, which says design and place additions to or expansions of porches, stoops, and balconies on non-character defining elevations to utilize compatible architectural details and materials. So I think the criteria apply whether it's visible or not from club.
So now the change is in the record, and we are reviewing that.
The steel pipe, the horizontal steel pipe between vertical wood posts. What size is the steel pipe, Mr. Black?
Three-quarter inch.
Okay. Thanks, Val. So it's that second house.
I was a little late, I apologize, but yeah, right here.
I'm sorry, what are we looking at here?
This is the view from Oval Drive, which I agree that the criterion doesn't necessarily make a distinction.
But it's the second property in, right, from the road?
Correct.
Okay.
Cables behind a screen are going to be virtually invisible, I think, particularly from Oval Drive.
Yeah, I think if they were cables, I guess 3/4 really isn't very.
I think the cables are 1/8 inch.
Okay.
I think you guys you're on the right path there in terms of the visibility of the cable rail is minuscule to the pipe, and once it's with the screen of the porch, I think it'll go away. So, John and I went to the same school of architecture, so he probably agrees with me.
I agree with everything you guys are saying.
So Mr. Black, Vice Chair Bouchard again, I take it then you would be fine reverting back to wooden cable railings?
I certainly would.
Okay.
And just Andy again, just in terms of the materials used throughout the district, I mean, we're still saying that metal is being used. I mean, it's just different format of it.
Okay, was there any other discussion amongst the commissioners or questions for the applicant?
I'd just like to say that I think this is how this commission is supposed to work, and I appreciate the builder working with us on this. This house is in the center of the district. It's near, one of the main attractions, that park. I'm really appreciative of your willingness to have this conversation with us, and I think this committee has done its job on this application. I'm pleased with the outcome.
All right. Well, thank you. Does anyone have the wording down to make a motion for this?
I could take a stab.
All right.
This is Vice Chair Bouchard. The Durham Historic Preservation Commission finds that in the case COA 2000073 2119 West Club Boulevard, addition and modifications. The applicant is proposing an addition, modifications, and site work on a contributing structure. New porch and door opening is proposed on the west side of the house with wood and cable railings. The applicant is proposing a screened porch on the back of the house, which will replace an existing wood deck. 3 taller existing 5/1 double hung windows, one on the east elevation, one on the west elevation, and one on the south elevation, shall be reused, with 2 of the windows to be placed on the east elevation of the proposed addition, i.e. the great room, and the third placed on the west elevation of the proposed addition, i.e. the laundry room. Other original windows will be replaced with fiberglass 5/1 double hung windows. A skylight will be replaced on the outer east roof slope at the rear of the structure. Therefore, the conclusion of law is that the proposed addition and alterations are consistent with the historic character and qualities of the historic district and are consistent with the historic properties local review criteria, specifically those listed in the staff report. And the Durham Historic Preservation Commission approves the certificate of appropriateness for case COA 2000073 2119 West Club Boulevard, addition and modifications and site work with the following conditions. 1, the improvements shall be substantially consistent with the plans and testimony presented to the commission at this commission hearing and attached to this COA. 2, the improvements may require additional approvals from other city or county departments or state or local agencies. The applicant is responsible for obtaining all required approvals relating to building construction, site work, and work in the right-of-way. And 3, a compliance inspection shall be performed immediately upon completion of the work approved herein.
Second.
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 Can I capture a minor potential word change on the second bullet, Matt, that you just said? A new porch should be a new screen porch to capture our discussion on visibility of the cable railing.
So with the motion made by Commissioner Bouchard and amended by Commissioner Fieselman and seconded by Commissioner Waiters.
Roll call vote.
Terry, can you please do a roll call vote? Thank you.
Sure. Vice Chair Bouchard,
Approved.
Commissioner Dan,
Approved.
Commissioner DeBerry,
Approved.
Commissioner Fieselman,
Approved.
Commissioner Goolsby,
Approved.
Chair Hamilton,
Approved.
Commissioner Johnson,
Approved.
Commissioner Krager,
Approved.
Commissioner Waiters. You may be on mute, Ms. Waiters, Commissioner Waiters.
Commissioner Waiters approved.
Thank you. Motion passes 9-0.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The applicant and neighbors for coming out. With
Chair
that-
Hamilton,
Yes.
can I make a motion for a brief 5-minute recess?
Yes. All right. We will have a 5-minute recess and be back shortly.
Thank you.
We're going to give it a couple more minutes to allow commissioners to rejoin the meeting. All right. So in the interest of time and understanding that Commissioner Dan has been excused for the rest of the meeting, we will now be moving on to case COA 2000075, 2115 West Club Boulevard modifications. If Terry could please confirm the oath with the applicants and any other individuals who are here to speak for or against this case. And upon hearing the oath, if you could confirm by stating your first and last name, and then that you do confirm the oath, please. Terry.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the public hearing proceeding for today's case is the truth by your own knowledge, information, and belief?
Lori Brokenborough, I confirm.
Ken Brokenborough, I confirm.
And then Broken Brothers, if you can also confirm that you consent to this hearing being done in this digital platform via Zoom today.
I confirm.
I confirm.
Is there anyone else here to speak for or against this application? All right.
Sorry.
We just lost you.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not good. All of a sudden, shall I try and log back in? We don't see anything now. Zoom is not even on. Go back in. Oh, okay.
We see you.
Okay, here. Okay, sorry. All right, I'm not sure. My computer goes glitzy sometimes. Of course, it had to choose now.
Okay, great. Well, then I will turn this over to Carla Rosenberg for the staff report to be presented.
It's not quite loaded, right? We click through the original windows.
Sorry about that. This is case COA 20-00075, it's 2115 West Club Boulevard, modifications. The applicant, Ken Bruckenbrough, the owner, Abigail Hatcher and Aaron Rebo. It's located at the south side of West Club Boulevard between Oval Drive and Carolina Avenue. It's zoned residential suburban 8 and is a contributing structure in the Watts-Hillendale Historic District. So the applicant is proposing to convert an existing rear screen porch into an enclosed room with exterior cladding. In addition, to install a skylight and relocate 3 original windows to the rear kitchen. I'd like to introduce the staff report into the record and invite the Bruckenbroughs to present their case. Not sure how I get this smaller in this context.
Can you hit control and zoom out with your?
Yeah, I tried that and it's telling me just 80%.
Did you try the little minus at the top of the
Yeah,
screen?
usually there is one, but now my Zoom stuff is covering it. So
I can see the plus and minus on your screen, but maybe you can't see it.
oh, really? Oh, go ahead, Chris. Go right ahead. Thank you. Okay. This is your existing. And your proposed. So feel free to give a brief description of what it is that you're doing, and then the commission will have questions.
Right. Well, I appreciate your all's time. We are actually representing the owners of the house. I am her aunt and Ken is their uncle. And they are moving here from South Africa and have bought this house sight unseen. But we have been working with a draftsperson trying to figure out the best way and least intrusive way of making modifications to improve the use of the home. There is the existing screen porch. We are planning on retaining the roof line and the foundation wall, so there's no additional footprint to the home. And we are planning on the window to the right of the double door that is noted there will be coming from the existing back wall where the kitchen is. And there is a second original window in the kitchen, which we will use on the east wall of that newly enclosed screen porch. The one change from this drawing that has occurred since the drawing is we are using or hoping to use a double door 8 foot tall without a transom, which would be more in keeping with the mimicking the front door, which is a tall 8 foot door, no transom. So we are made that change trying to keep consistent. So we are reusing the 2 removed windows and then the triple bank of windows that you see on the back wall is again the south facing wall, rear of the home. Those are mimicking the height of a bank of windows on the west wall of the dining room. That bank of windows in the dining room has 4 windows, but we are again using the same height window. Everything would be 9/1, as is the rest of the house. So again, the intention is to minimize the alteration to the structure, but maximize an additional 66 square feet of heated and cooled living space. Also, we intend to utilize existing siding to patch over, to harvest the siding, to patch over the west side of the house. Likely on the back side, we may use a mimic or identical type of siding, but so that it would all be consistent with itself on the back wall of the house. And the skylight, at this point, we are not planning on installing. So that's a change as well.
Okay. Thank you for presenting those changes and the initial application. Did any commissioners have any questions for the applicants? All right, hearing none, was there anyone else here who wishes to speak for or against this case?
Yes, this is Nancy McLaughlin.
Hello, Ms. McLaughlin.
Yes, I am a neighbor. I live at 1116 Oval Drive. The rear of this yard is 1 yard away from my house, and I can see the rear of the property from the upper level of my house. I, again, did not get a chance to look at the extent of the modifications until this morning. That's one of the reasons I wanted to speak, because I didn't have any idea whether it was going to be huge modifications. This seems like a very minor addition, so I really don't have any comments on that. I do want to mention the drainage issue again. When this area was developed 100 years ago, the developer took that creek that's in their backyard. It's labeled a drainage ditch on the survey, but it's actually used to be a creek, and it was encapsulated in a large concrete pipe that starts in their yard. That was designed so that the rest of the historic area could be developed. And I had worked with the previous owners to make sure that the grate that is there is cleared so debris does not go into that pipe and so that water can flow into that pipe. I've also worked with the city stormwater, and they at this point say that it's between neighbors. It's on private property. They didn't develop it, but since it's essential to the neighborhood, they're thinking about taking responsibility for it. And I'm looking forward to talking to these neighbors about, and the city, to make sure that any additional development in that backyard or any change to the grading in the backyard in the future takes into consideration the effect on neighboring properties because of the drainage issue. So I want the drainage to be I really think that it's critical in our neighborhood that the infrastructure, the effects of drainage and impervious surfaces needs to be considered, because the houses are so close together and much of the infrastructure is not owned and run by the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any?
I want to ask a question just for a point of clarity regarding the neighbor that spoke. I think this is the second time I've heard her say that she didn't get to see the designs. I just want to be sure, was she sent or notified about the hearing, and just to ask staff just to be sure, because I'm not sure if she just didn't get a chance to or didn't get the information.
Yes, I was notified about the hearings, and because of my holiday trips, I immediately signed up as a speaker, just seeing that they said there were going to be additions and site work, and I had no idea whether it's going to be a huge addition or something minor. And then I got back and was able to load up because I didn't have a computer on my trip, I was able to load up the plans this morning and look at them briefly.
Okay. I just want to be sure you got you got it and somehow you just didn't get the public notice and been a
Right.
neighbor. Okay.
Right. When you say additions and site work, given that the property is 300 feet deep, it can be something very minor. It could have been something extremely major. And that's why I wanted the opportunity to speak. And I had to sign up ahead of time before I saw the plans.
Okay, were there any other questions from commissioners for the applicant or neighbor?
I just want to mention to Nancy that I am very sensitive to what water flow and drainage issues can do to structures, and happy to, perhaps at some point meet with you and make sure. Again, I am not going to be the ultimate owner. My niece will, but I know that she and her husband would be happy to talk with you guys. They will not be here until the early part of next year. But if there's any concerns, we'd be happy to kind of work as a team to address those.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other questions from commissioners in regards to this application and the materials presented here today?
Vice Chair Bouchard, for the applicant, our potential motion, if and when we get there, makes reference to existing porch screen door to be replaced with double doors in an expanded opening with a transom overhead. Based on the desire to remove the transom, is it simply a matter of just removing that language and otherwise the provision is fine?
That would be accurate, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Carla Rosenberg, Planning Department. Is the skylight also mentioned in the motion?
Yes, so that bullet point needs to be removed.
And just to let the applicant know, if you can submit new drawings prior to my issuing the COA, I'll attach those new drawings that eliminate these graphic items.
Okay.
Is there any discussion amongst the commissioners? All right, I think we're gonna close the public hearing, and if we can get a recommendation from staff.
Carla Rosenberg, Planning Department. Staff would recommend approval of this application.
Thank you, Carla. And then Matt, were you planning to make a motion?
Sure, I can be the motion guy again. Vice Chair Bouchard, the Durham Historic Preservation Commission finds that in the case COA 2000075, 2115 West Club Boulevard, addition and modifications. The applicant is proposing modifications and in addition to a contributing structure. An original rear porch will be converted into conditioned space with painted wood lap siding, 6-inch pine, to match the rest of the home. The existing porch screen door will be replaced with double doors in an expanded opening. The doors will be styled similar to the original front door. 2 original windows will be relocated from the home's rear elevation to the side and rear elevations of the addition. A trio of new 9/1 windows will be installed on the home's rear elevation left of the addition. A wood deck 22 feet long and 12 feet deep will be constructed immediately behind the addition. Therefore, the conclusion of law is that the proposed addition and alterations are consistent with the historic character and qualities of the historic district, and are consistent with the historic properties local review criteria, specifically those listed in the staff report. And the Durham Historic Preservation Commission approves the certificate of appropriateness for case COA 2000075, 2115 West Club Boulevard, addition and modifications with the following conditions. 1, the improvements shall be substantially consistent with the plans and testimony presented to the commission at this commission hearing and attached to the COA. 2, the improvements may require additional approvals from other city or county departments or state or local agencies. The applicant is responsible for obtaining all required approvals relating to building construction, site work, and work in the right of way. And 3, a compliance inspection shall be performed immediately upon completion of the work approved herein.
Second.
Okay, with the motion being made by Vice Chair Bouchard and seconded by Commissioner Johnson, can we please get a roll call vote, Madam Clerk?
Yes. Vice Chair Bouchard.
Approved.
Thank you. And with that, we will be moving on to case COA 2000078 at Cleveland Street, new construction. Sorry, I'm waiting for the applicants to join real quick. Oh, all right. It looks like Trans Perry is here as the applicant. Is there anyone else on the call who wishes to speak for or against this application? All right, well, hearing none, if you can say your name first and last and that you consent to the oath after it has been administered by the clerk. We'd appreciate it. Terry, can you administer the oath, please?
Sure. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in the public hearing proceedings for today's case is the truth by your own knowledge or by information and belief?
I think the audio and video has frozen. I don't think we can hear you, but it looks like you're unmuted. We'll give the applicant a moment to get the audio sorted.
Chair Hamilton, this is Chris Peterson from Planning Department. One thing we can do is we can give a call-in number, and so that way his audio can go through the phone, and then he can be on camera through his computer, if that will work.
Okay.
No? Okay. Sorry.
We still can't hear you. If there is, Chris, can you in the chat at least share the phone number so that they have that as an option if this doesn't?
Sure, no, I'll have it up in just a moment.
Okay. feel like he said hello, but very quietly. I can kind of hear you, but I also know that I probably have younger ears than some of our other commissioners, so I'd like to figure out a way for you to be a little bit louder.
We can hear you, but it's muffled. We can barely hear you. You may have to use headphones or use the call-in number that Chris Peterson just sent you in the chat.
Might also be something blocking the microphone input on your laptop. Is it sitting on something, or is there a hand covering something?
I see a phone. Yep.
Y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm sorry.
That's really fine. Terry, can you re-administer the oath for the applicant to affirm? Well, before we have the oath, do you consent to having this meeting being done in this digital Zoom platform?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. And then, Terry, can you administer the oath, please?
Sure. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the public hearing proceeding for today's case is the truth by your own knowledge or information and belief?
Yes. I affirm.
Thank you.
And then I think Keegan is going to present the staff report for this one. So I will turn it over to him.
Keegan Sacropani, Planning Department. This is case number COA 2000078. 804 Cleveland Street is a new construction and site work. Applicant Trans Perry, owner Transition Developers, on the east side of Cleveland Street between Mallard Avenue and Gray Avenue, zoned RSM. Is a non-contributing lot in the Cleveland Street Historic District. The applicant is proposing to build a new single-family home. And with that, I would like to introduce the staff report into the record and give the applicant an opportunity to speak.
All right. So just give a brief description of what I'm proposing.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Here at 804, this was a single lot, 806 Cleveland and Cliff Cradle. My engineer, he divided it into two lots, I guess, per Durham's UDO, and now I'm proposing two single family new construction homes. I built these homes on previous occasions. Currently is one at 308 West Enterprise, 806 North Elizabeth, and 808 North Elizabeth. These same exact homes, pretty much. The elevations are pretty much the same. Floor plans the same. I guess I started renovating about 10 years ago and started with old historic homes, and I try to build my houses to how they were built in 1900. I guess all the exterior materials, I guess not the materials, but just everything is, I try to incorporate older historic homes, and that's pretty much it, I guess.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak for or against this application? All right. Were there any questions from commissioners for the applicant? I guess one question. So you're saying that you're going, this is specific to what on Cliff Cradle's plan is being shown as lot 3A, correct?
Yeah,
It's number 804.
Well, yeah, 804. Yeah, 804. Yeah, the new address would be 804 Cleveland Street.
Okay. And then on the adjacent property, you're currently not proposing anything on this other.
Yeah, no, that's the next case for the COA. It's two single family homes. It was one lot, and we just subdivided, within the parameters of the city's UDO, and made it two lots out of one historically single family lot.
Understood. They're two separate cases. All right. Now I've got it straight in my brain. All right.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Were there any other questions from commissioners?
This is Andy Goldsby. It may be in the next case, but I remember there was an email about scale in the block face. I think to Carla. But Mr. Perry, could you speak to the other houses that are on the street and how yours is comparing to the scale in width and height?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I think it had to be within it couldn't be any bigger, but these are smaller than the two adjacent homes. One is I'm not sure. I know Michael Johnson's the neighbor next door to my north. But those houses are, I think it was about 75 feet wide roughly, and these are proposed to be 28 feet wide, I believe. So these are a little bit smaller. They're still 2-story, just like both adjacent homes. They're 2-story, just like both adjacent homes. The roof lines was done, in accordance to the historical roof lines. So they're pretty much the same, height wise.
So really, in a different piece would be that these are much thinner than the other historic homes in the block face.
Yeah, thinner. Yeah, thinner. Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Perry, this is Laura Fieselman here. Before you joined the call today, we had a discussion about sort of building identical houses in historic districts because part of the character of the historic district is a variety of homes. Can you speak briefly to sort of your thinking around rebuilding exact homes that you've already built somewhere else?
Yeah, but it's in different parts of the city. It's just, I guess to say if it's not broke, why fix it? The customers who, homeowners that purchased my homes, they love them. People like them, and it's just easier for a smaller independent builder to, if it's just build it. I make improvements on them, but the one here at 804 is more of a Dutch style. Has dental mold across the front, but it's not. These houses are the closest house. They're in the downtown, but they're a mile away. And people, I guess you see people build the same houses, around. I guess saves on money, as far as architectural fees and stuff like that. As far as just being a smaller independent developer.
Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Perry, I appreciate that you have done two different facades on essentially the same house next door to one another. Have you built these exact same facades elsewhere?
Yes, sir. 808 808, 806 North Elizabeth. I did one on Glendale that's like 804, the case that we're hearing now at this house. I built this style about, 3 times, 2 with the same floor plan, 1 with a different floor plan.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Were there any other questions for the applicant on this application?
Vice Chair Bouchard with a quick question about the walkway. Mr. Perry, my understanding is it is far more typical in this district for walkways to connect directly to sidewalk, and it appears from the plans we received that won't be the case. The walkway to the front door connects to the drive. If you could explain why that decision was made, and let us know if it would present a hardship to redesign the walkway to be more consistent with the historic character of the district.
Yeah. Well, of course, it's like a, two, I made the driveway, the approach and, the driveway for 2 cars. And I can make a little bit I think I adjusted it a little bit where we took the walkway to the sidewalk. It might not be directly in front of, like, straight, straight line. It might be a little offset. I'm willing to do that. I think I sent it to Carla, I believe. Because that was a question. They had comments, the city, they had like a couple, a few comments from my original proposal to help meet all the standards within the historic district. And I proposed taking it directly to the sidewalk. Because they also wanted me to add a strip also in the driveway, like a grass strip to kind of like, give a little more character that's like consistent with other driveways in the historic districts.
And where does that stand?
I proposed it. I think I sent it to Carl.
There's another site plan that has some markups on it, Keegan. It may at around page 14.
Yeah, it's got like a pin markup on it, and it says fence outline at the bottom.
All right.
There we go. I think this is what Mr. Perry's describing. If you zoom in, there's a hatch pattern on a sidewalk on this closer to the north side of the property. I think that's the sidewalk you're speaking to, correct, Mr. Perry?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my bad for not seeing that revised site plan before now. Thanks, Andy.
No problem. It was buried deep in there.
Are there any other questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Okay. Hearing none, I think we can close the public hearing, and then if there's discussion amongst the commissioners.
I think it's the same discussion as about the accessory dwellings. Is that I think it does bring me comfort that the houses, though they exist somewhere in Durham, they're outside of the historic district and somewhat apart from each other.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you see it in the historic districts too, where they would have done, you know, the same unit multiple places. It's just how many of them really comes down to part of the question, and are they all right in a row, and will they affect the character of the district itself? Tad, you're unmuted.
All right, sorry about that. So since these are side by side and the facades are so different, I have less of a problem than some of the earlier stuff we did today. You know, ideally, you wouldn't do the same thing over and over and over again, but this is, I think, is about as good as you're going to get for this location and this application.
All right. Is there anything else from the other commissioners? All right, hearing none. I think we can make a motion. Let's look at the, I just want to review it real quick before we get into it to make sure it's reflected the changes we discussed today. Will the walkway and driveway be connected still? It looks like the motion says they're going to be perpendicular to the street, but also connect to each other. That is what's happening?
Yeah. It'd be like a little grass, like, you know, the parking paths will connect to the steps, and then there'll be another like separate little piece off of that going to the sidewalk.
Okay. Fantastic. Yeah, that matches the motion then. All righty. With that, can you get a staff recommendation?
I recommend approval.
Thank you, Keegan. And with that, I can make the motion. The Durham Historic Preservation Commission finds that in case COA 2000082-806 Cleveland Street, new construction and site work, the applicant is proposing to construct a new primary structure with associated site work. The applicant is proposing to remove one cedar tree and an existing chain link fence and will replace these with a new street yard, white oak, and a new dog ear style wood fence around the rear yard. House construction materials include cementitious fiber board siding, wood composite siding, and polyvinyl chloride PVC trim, architectural shingles, and pressure treated lumber. The front porch will be constructed using grade 1 pressure treated lumber installed flush. The windows will consist of 2/1 aluminum clad wood windows. A paved concrete walkway and driveway will run perpendicular to the street and connect to each other. Therefore, the conclusion of law is that the proposed addition and alterations are consistent with the historic character and qualities of the historic district and are consistent with the historic properties local review criteria, specifically those listed in the staff report. And the Durham Historic Preservation Commission approves the certificate of appropriateness for KCOA 2000082-806 Cleveland Street, new construction and site work with the following conditions. The improvements shall be substantially consistent with the plans and testimony presented to the commission and at this commission hearing and attached to this CDOA. The improvements may require additional approvals from other city or county departments or state or local agencies. The applicant is responsible for obtaining all required approvals related to building, construction, site work, and work in the right-of-way, and a compliance inspection shall be performed immediately upon completion of the work approved herein.
Second.
Okay. With the motion being made by myself, Chair Hamilton, and seconded by Commissioner Goolsby. Can we get a roll call vote, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Vice Chair Bouchard.
Approved?
Let's see. Commissioner DeBerry.
Approved.
Commissioner Fieselman.
Approved.
Commissioner Goolsby.
Approved.
Chair Hamilton.
Approved.
Commissioner Johnson.
Approved.
Commissioner Krager.
Approved.
Commissioner Waiters.
Approved.
Motion passes 8-0.
And with that, we will now move on to the second case that this applicant has brought before us today, which is case COA 2000082, 806 Cleveland Street, new construction. Egan, can you please present the staff report?
Yeah. Just a sec.
Also, a point of clarification to city attorneys. Does Mr. Perry need to consent to the oath and the digital hearing for this hearing as well as the previous one? Since they're separate hearings. So to be safe, Terry, can you please administer the oath for Mr. Perry specific to this case?
Sure. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the public hearing proceeding for today's case is the truth by your own knowledge or by information and belief?
Yes, I affirm.
Okay.
Thank you.
You also consent to this hearing being held digitally via the Zoom call?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Now, Egan, can you please present the staff report on this case?
All right. Keegan Sacramani Planning Department. This is case number COA 2000082. So this is 806 Cleveland Street. New construction and site work applicant, Transperry owner, transition developers, east side of Cleveland Street between Mallet Avenue and Gray Avenue. Zoning RSM, non-contributing lot in the Cleveland Street Historic District. This is lot 3B. The applicant is proposing to construct a new single-family dwelling. And with that, I'd like to add the staff report to the record and invite the applicant to speak.
All right. Like I say, it's pretty much the same, same spiel as before. Try to build houses from the beginning to look like, historic. And I took all the criteria, my architect and we took all the criteria based on the local historic preservation into consideration, making sure we implemented everything. And here's the proposed new construction single family home in the Cleveland Historic District, Cleveland Highway Lane.
Okay, thank you. Were there any questions, or was there anyone else here to speak for or against this case? All right, hearing none. Were there any questions for the applicant from commissioners?
Just a quick one from Vice Chair Bouchard. Similar question about the walkway and driveway. I don't see a revised site plan with this COA. Is the intent to make this similar changes, and if so, will a revised plan sheet be submitted?
Yes, it will be pretty much, it will be the same thing. I thought I sent one, but I can submit the same proposed changes as the other 804 Cleveland. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. I have a question for staff. Both motions that are in both the previous case and this case mention replacing the street tree. Does that need to be included in both, or should it only be included in one since it's only one tree, I think, right? I guess that's another point of clarification. It is only one tree between the two cases, right?
Pekin Sac County Planning Department, both of the application materials sets mention the tree, so I included it in the staff report for both, but looking at Google Street View location, it looks like there's just the one tree. So it may not necessarily need to be included for the COA for lot 3B.
It looks like all of that work is within lot 3A, so I think we can strike that from this motion. Is there any other questions from commissioners for either the applicant or the staff?
It's Andy Goldsmith, Mr. Perry. Along with the sidewalk site plan you sent, if you can make sure that the fence, the outline of the fence is shown on that site plan.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, I can't. I think my phone. I think I lost connection for a second, but I can show the fence out. You said show the fence outline, sir.
I did. The site plan that we have in our package is actually for 3A. We don't have one for lot 3B. I think that's where the confusion is about the sidewalk and the fence.
Okay. I will outline it.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions for staff or the applicant? All right, hearing none, I think we can close the public hearing. Is there any discussion amongst commissioners in regards to this application?
Vice Chair Bouchard here. I guess the only concern here is, since we don't have the revised site plan, how do we make sure that that is included in any COA we might elect to approve? Question for staff, I suppose.
Could that be a condition on the approval? Is approved if the walkway is revised to match what's on 78?
Yeah, I think that would work. And then the same with the fence, where the fence location is similar to what's proposed on 804. So we could say like, sorry.
I sent it to Carla. I can email it to you now, Keegan. I sent it to Carla, the proposed changes. Carla Rosenberg.
Okay. If you can send that to Keegan,
I'll send it to you. Okay.
that'd be great.
Katie, are we making it a condition, or are we waiting on what?
I think we can say there's a condition subject to staff approval of the walkway extending to the public right of way and the fence being located such that it is in a similar orientation to that proposed on lot 3A, which is 804 Cleveland Street. And that would be sufficient for me.
The driveway strips as well, Carla Rosenberg, Planning Department.
Thanks, Carla. Yes, and then driveway.
What'd you say, Carla? Driveway strip?
Yes.
Give me 1 second to write this up, and I'll have a motion for you. Katie, when you're ready for it, I have a motion.
Staff, do you have a recommendation on this?
Yeah, I recommend approval with the conditions discussed.
Thank you. And then Andy, I am willing to entertain a motion.
Okay. The Durham Historic Preservation Commission finds that in case COA 200008286 Cleveland Street, new construction and site work, the applicant is proposing to construct a new primary structure with associated site work. The applicant is proposing to remove an existing chain link fence and will replace it with a new dog ear style wood fence around the rear yard. House construction materials include cementitious fiberboard siding, wood composite siding, a polyvinyl chloride PVC trim, architectural shingles, and pressure-treated lumber. The front porch will be constructed using grade 1 pressure-treated lumber installed flush. Windows will consist of 2/1 aluminum-clad wood windows. A paved concrete walkway and driveway will run perpendicular to the street and connect to each other. Therefore, the conclusion of law is that the proposed addition and alterations are consistent with the historic character and qualities of the historic district and are consistent with the historic properties local review criteria, specifically those listed in the staff report, and the Durham Historic Preservation Commission approves the certificate of appropriateness for case COA 2000082 Cleveland Street, new construction and site work with the following conditions. 1, the improvements shall be substantially consistent with the plans and testimony presented to the commission at this commission hearing and attached to this COA. 2, the improvements may require additional approvals from other city or county departments or state or local agencies. The applicant is responsible for obtaining all required approvals relating to the building construction, site work, and work in the right of way. 3, a compliance inspection shall be performed immediately upon completion of the work approved herein. And 4, a new site plan will be provided to city staff for approval depicting sidewalk extending to the street, a driveway strip, and fence matching that of the adjacent property, lot 3A, 804 Cleveland Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. With the motion being made by Commissioner Goolsbee and seconded by Commissioner Berry, Madam Clerk, can we please get a roll call vote?
Yes, Vice Chair Pashard,
Approved.
Commissioner DeBerry,
Approved.
Commissioner Fieselman,
Approved.
Commissioner Goolsbee,
Approved.
Chair Hamilton,
Approved.
Commissioner Johnson,
Approved.
Commissioner Krager,
Approved.
Commissioner Waiters.
Commissioner Waiters approved.
Motion passes 8-0.
Great. Thank you, Terry, and thank you to the applicant for coming out today and presenting your cases.
Thank you.
Thanks. With that, I do not see any old or new business on the agenda.
Actually, could we add one item?
Yes.
At the request of the city clerk's office. If you recall, there was a spotlight for commission members, city appointed. If you guys want to nominate a city appointed member to be in this board spotlight in the coming months.
Who are our city appointed members?
Yeah.
Let's see, Terry, do you have the roster readily available?
And I already did it, so I can't do it again.
You said city appointed?
City appointed.
Yeah, I think it's Jonathan, April, Wanda, and myself are the city appointed.
Okay.
You want us to nominate now?
Yes.
I nominate Andy, the architect.
Yeah, I can do it.
Great. Thank you very much. So I can send you what they'll request of you via email. And yeah, thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
So there's no other new or old business, correct? All right, well, hearing none, I think we can adjourn this meeting and look forward to seeing everybody in 2021.
Crazy.
We survived the 2020 year.
So far.
All right.
Next year.
Knock on wood.
Bye.
Everybody, it's nice to see you. Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.